Hi there, everyone. I'm Jake from University Radio Nottingham, and I am here on behalf of the Student Music Network chatting to the wonderful Rou from Enter Shikari. How you doing today?
I'm okay. Pretty knackered. Just come off tour, London show last night. But yeah, I'm good. I'm feeling grateful to be back home.
I can imagine. I mean, speaking of the shows, let's go right in there. You've done a set of three residencies, essentially, three sets of five shows across the UK in five different cities. How was that? You were back to being a local band for a bit.
Yeah, that was the plan. We just thought it'd be really interesting to every 4 weeks go back to the same venue, not just the city, but the same place and see how the show would change, see how it would evolve. I think we've tried so many different things with tours, and this felt like an interesting new idea. And it meant that we got to play the singles as soon as they were out, basically. A week after we released the single, we could play shows straight away, which is the polar opposite experience from the last album where we didn't get to play the music for a year and a half. So yeah, it's been a really, really nice experience.
Yeah, it looked amazing. I mean, everyone I know who's been predictably absolutely loved it, as is a massive theme with Enter Shikari. Your community is so full of love for the band. And speaking of the community, you guys have been quite community focused on this album, sharing the fanfare from the intro to the album, amongst other things. Was that the plan after such a divisive lockdown to really make a sense of community around this album?
Yeah, I think that's been a central pillar to what we've done forever, really. Music, if you really open it up and delve into it, it's a tool that humanity has used for millennia to bring people together. Whether it was hunter-gatherers around a campfire, whether it's at various, events, big life events like funerals and weddings, and it's something that we can all enjoy. It's something that we can all it reminds us of our shared vulnerability, I think, which is kind of the most beautiful thing about it. So yeah, I think it to encourage a sense of community is kind of one of our key aims, I think, as a band.
And it certainly works. I mean, you guys sold out every single date on those tours. It looked nothing less than spectacular, as I think we've all come to expect from your never less than spectacular shows. For example, I was at the Alexander Palace show just gone in December, and it was wonderful. So it
Amazing.
always feels
Thank
like you
you.
guys turn it up every single time.
Oh, hell yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's something we take really seriously. I mean, we were a live band before we were anything else, before we saved up the money to go into a studio. So like live is for us, it's where you sort of prove yourself really. And where you get to connect with people in a physical space. So it's something that we've always relished in.
Now, to speak on the album, of course, which we've got coming out this Friday, it's titled A Kiss for the Whole World. And I was trying to think what that is trying to reference. I couldn't come up with anything concrete. So I'd like to hear from you kind of what does it mean to you? What is A Kiss for the Whole World from you?
Well, I guess in one sense, it's a description of what the album hopefully is. Um, and in another, I think it's what the sort of what the world needs, isn't it? Like some affections, a sense of community, a sense of togetherness, a sense of common direction. I think the world is we're all so divided, everything's so tribalistic at the moment, it's utterly exhausting. And it's nice to be able to sort of refocus things. We're one species on one planet. We got one chance at this. Like, so I think we're all kind of getting sick of this incessant like division. It's just relentless. So yeah, this album is hopefully an injection of positivity, a sense of unity. And it's something that, yeah, we've always really focused our music on.
Well, speaking of the injection of positivity, the album itself, listening through, it's just so full of joy. That was honestly the first word I could think of after getting to the end of the album. It's a joyous album. So it honestly, I couldn't think of a better album to be named A Kiss for the Whole World. It's absolutely wonderful.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, joy is like one of It's funny, it's funny you bring it up. It's like one of the central themes, really. I think the title track itself, A Kiss for the Whole World, is basically our ode to joy. So Beethoven's famous Ninth Symphony includes a section called the Ode to Joy, which is the first melody I actually learned on the trumpet as a kid. And so that actually runs throughout it in the underlayer of it. And I thought it'd be interesting to write a song that's kind of our ode to joy in 2023 and kind of compare it to how joy was felt in Beethoven's times and see what the differences were. And I think the main difference really is that joy nowadays is so fragile, it's so fleeting. We so are quickly persuaded that, you know, we shouldn't be feeling joy because the world is really quite a scary place. You know, it's as I just alluded to, it's so divisive. There's so many crises, and then there's of course the overall looming crisis of climate change, which kind of dwarfs everything. And so normally people feel a bit almost embarrassed or like um, shamed, I think, to feel joy when there's so much to be worried about in the world. But I think that is a shame in itself because joy is a motivating force. It's an energizing force. It's a unifying force. So even for things like activism, it's pivotal to hold on to joy and not let it slip away. So yeah, it's an album that's almost powered by joy, I think.
Well, I was going to mention actually in the song you directly mention Symphony Number 9. You'll dance on the front lines to Symphony Number 9. So I honestly I didn't hear the symphony underneath it, but I'll go back and have a listen. And in fact, that leads me on to another question. By bringing that symphony in, it allows you to almost bring it back anew. You've given it a new lease of life, which again is a massive theme of the album, with the cover being a fire lily and just themes of rebirth, like "Please Set Me on Fire" again, trying to cleanse yourself. Is this Shikari Act 2? Is this confirmed Shikari Act 2?
Yeah, absolutely. The whole album feels like a rebirth for us, just because we had a period of a year and a half where we were obviously not playing shows because of the pandemic. And I didn't write any music during that period, which is completely foreign to me. And I've written music since I was like 10 years old consistently. So if when we came to start playing shows again, finally, at the end of 2021, it was like we'd ceased to exist for a year and a half and was suddenly getting back together and felt enlivened and invigorated again. And I think at the same time as well, we brought out our first biography last year. Luke Morton, a brilliant writer, was interviewing us for that, and that book finishes at the start of the writing period for this album, Kiss for the Whole World. So that also made us feel like this was kind of act two because the going through those journeys, you know, and the history of the band and reliving it all, it's like, wow, okay, we've gone this far, full stop. And now it was like everything from here is kind of fresh and different and revived. So yeah, it certainly feels like a new lease of life, I think.
Yeah, I mean, again, listening through, it's a lively album. I also wanted to quickly ask, what is the reference to Flash Flood of Color on the album? Is that just a little sneak peek for the fans, a little Easter egg, or is that meant as something more?
Well, yeah, we thought it was an album that seemed to be quite similar in many ways. I mean, you know, everyone has their own take on which era of our material is most perhaps connected to, but for us that seemed to be like quite central. And we just had this idea of the front cover from A Flash Flood is, for those that don't know, is a woodland kind of forest with our logo in lighting apparatus. And yeah, we thought like the way things are going at the moment is so, you know, times are so dark, and so we thought we'd have the forest as this burnt out landscape, and the lighting rig is now sort of yeah, kind of tarnished and upside down and broken. And so in those moments that, you know, it feels like all you can just lose all hope, all sense of direction, all sense of vigor. But there's always, you know, a reason to fight. There's always a reason to be hopeful. There's always a reason to come together. And that's why the fire lily is such a beautiful metaphor. You know, this flower that's native to South Africa, that the only time it grows is after a forest fire. So, you know, you have these blackened, torched, completely lifeless landscapes, and then suddenly you get these little brilliantly orange, pink, red flowers sprouting up, and it's just such a interesting landscape, you know, that it offers. That nature always finds a way, life always finds a way, hope always finds a way, and it's yeah, it's something that we've been really inspired by.
Well, as you said, Flash for the Color is a very central album to your sound, to your fan base, even to your live shows. And do you think A Kiss for the Whole World might become that next one that's really central to the whole band and the fan base?
Well, we've been playing the three singles live now at these residency shows, and I don't think we've ever had such a vibrant reaction to like new music so immediately. You know, like the first time we played "Please Set Me on Fire" and "It Hurts," they felt like staples in the set. You know, they felt like we'd been playing them for years, and the crowd was like just as enthusiastic and energized to those tracks as they were any other. So it was a quite surreal when we played them. It was yeah, it was really exciting.
That's amazing to hear. And now, don't think we've got too much more time. So, one last question, a nice simple one. Do you have a favorite track on the album?
Oh, um, I mean, it changes every time I listen to it at the moment, but I'll go with Jailbreak. Um, it's such a it's a really sort of personal track, that one, because it's about my experience of like trying to break out of limitations that I put on myself, or like, you know, expectations. Um, Kind of when you feel a bit limited by your own idea of who you are, if that makes sense. Um, and but as well, it's like such a euphoric, high energy banger of a song, really. So I can't wait to play that one live.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And that's a very good choice for best song or favorite song on the album. Sorry. Certainly, I don't think many people will argue with that. Thank you very much for your time, Rao. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Anytime.